Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Filmsplaining. I'm your host, Martyn Strange. Apologies for the rough quality of my voice in this video. I am unfortunately catching something, but I had to give my reactions to the Oscars, which were last night. If you watched my initial predictions video, I got a lot of things wrong, but I made that video right after the nominations were announced. It was a very different race. Back then, lots of things changed. It was before all of the precursor awards, such as the DGAs, the WGAs, the BAFTAs, and the SAG Awards just a few weeks ago. So I have amended some of the picks that I initially made. I did this a few days ago, right before the Oscars happened, just to try and get back into what I thought was the best bet for some of these categories. So if you go back and watch that initial predictions video, it's going to be a little bit different. I changed about 5 categories, all in all, including some of the big ones, including Best Picture. And I still didn't do all that great, as we are about to find out. Firstly, I just want to talk about the telecast itself for a minute, because I felt like it started really strong, and then as it went on, just got worse and worse. I think Conan was the perfect choice to host the Oscars. The guy has been hosting late-night television for over 30 years, and it made me feel like I used to feel watching him when I was a kid. I just really wish the guy had never left TV. He belongs on a stage doing this kind of thing, and I hope they ask him back. I saw some people online saying stuff about he was bombing, which was just completely untrue. There were plenty of laughs in the room if you were listening to the reactions to his jokes. I thought the opening monologue was pretty killer. He kept ribbing Timothée Chalamet over and over, which was a good bit. The Sandler thing was like, it started out cute and then it went on a little long. Most shockingly, I think for me, he addressed the elephant in the room, so to speak. That elephant being Carla Sofia Gascon, who was in attendance, and as you probably well know, she has been through the ringer in terms of very public, very nasty turn of events for the film that she was there to represent. There was a mixed to hesitant applause when her name was announced in the beginning, when Conan addressed her in the room. He made a very funny joke about if she was going to tweet about the awards ceremony that his name was Jimmy Kimmel. This got sort of, again, hesitant, mixed reaction, laughs. But you could tell everyone was definitely still uncomfortable with the situation, for good reason. I am kind of shocked that she was there at all. It was like a sort of running through line of low-grade tension throughout the night. He did a great shout out to the craftspeople and the crews of these films. You know, a lot is being made about the craftspeople and the crew on film productions not really being given enough credit and merit for the work that they do, and there was a pretty strong focus on those people tonight. He ended the monologue with a musical number about how he wouldn't waste time, which of course was wasting time, funny tongue-in-cheek stuff, and talked about how he was going to run a tight ship, that the award ceremony wouldn't go long. Of course it did. It's the Oscars. It's going to go long. That's what it does every single year. So the first major category that I had about 18 of the 23 or 24. I didn't pick a lot of those because I hadn't seen those movies and they were, just smaller awards. The first award was Best Supporting Actor, which Robert Downey Jr. presented. I thought he did a really good, earnest job of praising the nominees. They did this thing this year where they changed things up. Just one presenter comes out and talks about the nominees for the major acting categories. They didn't do the 5 people thing that they did last year, although they did do something similar for the technical awards, which we'll talk about in a second. Anyway, Kieran Culkin won Best Supporting Actor because, of course, he did. He's had this on lockdown since day one. This has been the only performance that anyone's been talking about in this category. I think it was great, and he gave a very funny speech, as he does. Amusing anecdote about the bet that he made with his wife to, if he ever won an Oscar, that they would have more kids. I guess they have to have more kids now. And then we got a very sweet and cute, if not awkward, moment with Goldie Hawn and Andrew Garfield presenting the awards for animated feature and animated short. Animated feature, of course, went to Flow. This was my kind of revised pick after I initially had picked The Wild Robot. I did watch Flow the day before the ceremony, and I really liked it. It took me by surprise how much it actually affected me. Very powerful movie. And then there was a very awkward and uncomfortable bit with the filmmakers behind the winner of the animated short film. Neither of them spoke very good English, and the woman, she was starting to read from something that was on their phone, and then the guy just pulled the phone out of her hand and started reading it instead, and he was just reading the same thing that she was already reading, and it went on for so long, and it was just very painful and uncomfortable to watch. I'm not sure what happened there, but it was clearly kind of definitely brought the vibe down, so to speak. The next big category was costume design. I had actually picked Nosferatu to win this category, but of course it went to Wicked, to Paul Tazwell, who made history as the first black man to win this award. He gave a very nice, moving speech about what it meant to him. So this was my first kind of missed call of the night, first of many, as we'll see. Next, Amy Poehler came out and presented the awards for original screenplay and adapted screenplay. Sean Baker won his first Oscar of many for the night for original screenplay, and in his speech he thanked the sex worker community, and that would come up again a few more times. For adapted screenplay, I don't know really what happened with my predictions personally. I was pulling for Nickel Boys because I had seen it a few days earlier. Finally, I was able to see this movie and was just thinking that it, for some reason, would have the juice here since it was not going to win anything else. But with the precursors of BAFTA and the WGA and other things, Conclave actually did end up taking this award, and it was the one that most people had pegged to win this award, Peter Strong winning for adapted screenplay. Next was the Oscar for Best Makeup and Hairstyling. Presenting this award were Scarlett Johansson and June Squibb. June Squibb had a funny joke about her actually being Bill Skarsgård in disguise. This got a good laugh. And of course, this award went to The Substance, which was my revised pick after initially thinking that Wicked might take it home. And this turned out to be the only win for The Substance for the night, which we'll talk about in a little bit. After this, there was a very interesting choice to do a tribute to the James Bond franchise. Not sure why, especially as if you've heard the news, that the Broccoli's and the people who have held control over James Bond for years and years have finally sold the rights to the Amazon Corporation, who are most likely going to completely start from the ground up and probably do a bunch of things that no one will like or possibly even see. And it was featuring a bunch of modern, very young pop singers doing reinterpretations of the classic Bond themes. I just found this thing to be really strange and ill-timed, especially considering, some of the other things that have happened in recent Hollywood history that they could have addressed instead. This, largely just felt kind of out of place in the awards. And then that also led to another very weird bit of Daryl Hannah being introduced. Conan said that it was the 20th anniversary of Kill Bill Volume 2, which indeed it is. It's just strange that the Oscars do this thing every once in a while where they just pick a random movie that's the anniversary. A few years back, there was the White Men Can't Jump one, and then there was also the Juno one. I don't know why they do this, but they just do this thing where none of the movies actually connected to the awards show are kind of featured. And Daryl Hannah, someone who has not really been in the Hollywood consciousness for many years now, being the one to present the award for Best Editing, I found strange. However, it does make a connection towards something else that happened later in the night. Anyway, Best Editing went to Sean Baker, again for Anora, winning his second Oscar of the night. And this was my revised pick after initially thinking that The Brutalist could take this award home. Next, Divine Joy Randolph came out and presented Best Supporting Actress. This was one of the more kind of awkward things of the previous winner introducing the nominees, because Robert Downey Jr. seemed very earnest and genuine. He actually knew all of those guys and had something very personal to say about each one of them. Da'Vine Joy Randolph was clearly just reading off of the teleprompter, and it made it a little less personal, although she did a good job with what she was given. She presented this award to, of course, Zoe Saldana, who has been the favorite for this award for a long time. This was my pick, and Zoe Saldana gave a very moving, very emotional speech. She was crying, she was screaming. It was probably the most kind of, I think, joyous and emotionally wrapped moment of the night. It was also at this point in the show that I noticed Isabella Rossellini and Laura Dern sitting together, and saw that Isabella Rossellini was wearing a blue velvet dress, which actually brought tears to my eyes just seeing her wearing that. And the two of them together, it definitely made me think that there was going to be some kind of tribute to David Lynch, which there was not. He was included in the In Memoriam segment, which I will get to in a minute. Next, Ben Stiller presented the award for production design. He did a funny little gag where he was jumping up from behind the stage, saying a word every time he jumped up. I guess it was a bit about how he's short or something. Production design went to Wicked, which was my initial pick, so I'll give myself half a point on this one. My revised pick was Dune Part 2, thinking that it was going to kind of possibly sweep the technical categories, which it very much did not. Next was a surprise in the form of Mick Jagger coming out to reveal Best Original Song. I did not pick this category because it just didn't mean that much to me, and I also didn't really like any of the songs. This award sadly went to Emilia Perez, a movie that I have absolutely no love for, as you probably well know from my initial predictions video. And there was a very cringy moment of the songwriters accepting this award, and then one of the songwriters, she just began singing the word Emilia, and as the music was playing them off and telling them to leave the stage, she just kept doing it, and it went on so long, and it was very awkward, and you could see kind of reactions from the crowd being like, this is just get off the stage, your time is done. This is obviously a movie that many people in the audience had no love for, and of course, due to its many troubles and very publicized insanity, it just felt really wrong for this woman to be, shouting this name on the stage and not giving up an inch. The next category was Best Sound, which was thankful went to Dune. I think it did have the best sound of the nominees. This was my pick all around. And then Best VFX also went to Dune. These were the two awards that it took home tonight. And Dune Part 2 was my pick overall to win VFX as well. After this came the Memoriam segment. It was introduced by Morgan Freeman, who talked for a minute about Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman died just maybe 3 or 4 days before the Academy Awards. Very sad, an incredible actor, one of my favorite actors. But this opened the In Memoriam segment, which historically has been very hit or miss. They've tried to do different things with this, and it never really quite feels appropriate or just like it is honoring the people it's meant to honor. They've made this choice to use this Mozart Requiem, basically funeral dirge, as the music, with an entire choir singing it. You would know it if you heard it. It's been in thousands of movies. It's used to very comic effect in The Big Lebowski. I just thought it was very bleak and dark and kind of adding more sadness on top of the sadness that we were already feeling for all the people in Hollywood who we lost this year. And speaking of that, the segment itself was kind of a train wreck. I mean, they completely left out Tony Todd, a very well-known and well-respected actor who passed away last year. They basically gave up the option here to have Isabella Rossellini and Laura Dern together talk about David Lynch and what he meant. David Lynch's segment in the piece was actually pretty short and sweet, and just, I don't know, it felt like nothing really happened with that, and they had a chance to make something impactful and respectful. Shelley Duvall, when her name and face came up on the thing, the camera like cut away to something. I mean, it was just like it was very strange. I think it was a very poorly managed segment. They finished it with Gene Hackman. Also missing was Michelle Trachtenberg, who passed away the same day that Gene Hackman did. She was not that huge of a figure in Hollywood per se. She did a lot more television, but still, to not even include her or Tony Todd was just really unfortunate, I think. After this, the award for Best Cinematography went to The Brutalist. I mentioned briefly, but they did this thing where for a lot of the technical crafts awards, someone from each of the movies nominated came out and spoke about that particular craftsperson. This is basically an inversion of what they did last year with the 5 actors and actresses coming out to honor those nominees. I think it's fine. I just think we just need to get away from like the preamble stuff and allow more time for the people winning the awards to actually speak. There were just numerous times throughout the night that the music started playing and they tried to shoo off the craftspeople who won these awards off the stage, and they should be allowed to speak just as long as the actors and directors and writers are allowed to speak. My initial pick for cinematography was actually Dune Part 2. I very stupidly just kind of forgot that Greg Fraser had already won for Part 1, so of course they weren't going to award him here again. The Brutalist was the smart pick, and I should have made it. Next was the award for Best International Feature, which of course went to I Am Still Here, the Brazilian film. I had picked this to win initially, and it stayed that way. This was the obvious international picture winner for a while now. I still have not seen it. It was playing for like a few days near me right before I was about to go on vacation and leave the country, and I was not able to check it out, but I'm going to see it. I really want to see it. I'm very curious about it. I've heard nothing but great things from my friends and colleagues who have seen it. Next, Mark Hamill came out to present Best Score. He seemed a little, I don't know, not bored, but or angry. He just seemed kind of like he just really didn't want to be doing this. He was just kind of cranky or tired or something. Anyway, Best Score went to The Brutalist. This is, like I said in my initial video, my favorite score of the year. I think it's the best score of the year, and was very happy for Daniel Blumberg for his first nomination and win. After this, Cillian Murphy, the winner of last year's Best Actor, came out to present the winner of this year's Best Actor, which went to Adrien Brody for The Brutalist. After the SAGs and Timothée Chalamet winning there was some talk about how like maybe he could possibly pull the upset here. I kind of felt always like it was going to be Adrien Brody. Never really wavered in that fact, and it turned out to be. He gave a really great speech. Adrien Brody loves to go on about these things, about acting, and his speeches have been all about how he is so grateful and empowered by Hollywood and by what he does. And he talked about his family and being an immigrant, and the music started playing him off, and he was like, no, turn the music off. He said, I've done this before. It's not my first rodeo, which got a good laugh from the audience. And he gave a great speech, and he clearly was very much wanting to win this award. He was campaigning extremely hard all season. After this, Quentin Tarantino made a surprise appearance, tying back to the 20th anniversary of Kill Bill thing. It seems like they should have just had him and Daryl Hannah do something together, but that's not what they did. Anyway, Quentin Tarantino was presenting Best Director. He, of course, presented this to Sean Baker, who just absolutely cleaned up this night. I initially had Brady Corbet to be Best Director because this felt like, for the longest time, it really felt like it was going to be a split year between Best Director and Best Picture. That rarely ever happens, but things were just constantly changing in this race, and things were constantly evolving based on the precursor awards. But after Baker winning numerous precursors, he of course did win Best Director. He gave a speech and talked about how the fact that he won this award was that Quentin had cast Mikey Madison in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and that was why he cast her in Honora. This was a good little segment, and then you could see them talking and kind of having a good time walking away from the stage. Then we had the final 2 awards of the night, and Emma Stone came out to present Best Actress. And just before she was about to read the names, Hulu shit the bed. It just completely cut out. The live stream was over. Apparently, Hulu had pre-timed the live stream to end at a certain time, and because these awards went long, as they always do, it just simply cut out. And all of us who are watching on Hulu who don't have cable, we didn't get to watch the final two awards. They literally only had two more to go, and it couldn't happen. I mean, the general vibe of the night was that the live stream was going poorly. It was also like, for a lot of people, not starting on time and was going dead when they were trying to start watching the awards. This was just kind of a disaster all around. Look, I get it. It's hard to do these kinds of things, integrating the new technology and all of that, but it's 2025. Like, we need to figure this shit out. So I did not get to see the final two awards of the night in real time, which was the shock that Mikey Madison upset Demi Moore for Best Actress. I had picked Demi Moore. I think everyone had picked Demi Moore. She won all the precursor awards. She's been giving all of these very powerful and passionate speeches. She clearly really wanted this. It felt like it was like a reclamation project of like, she's back. It's time for her. And then Mikey Madison won the award, which is shocking. I mean, she's very good. I mean, it was one of my favorite performances of the year. I'm very happy for her. This was my backup pick. If anyone else were to win, I wanted it to be her. And she gave a pretty conventional speech, just kind of read off of a note card, thanked all of her friends and family and the people who worked on the film. She went on to thank the sex worker community yet again for their inspiration on the project. Of course, I had to watch this secondhand this morning on YouTube because I didn't get to watch it. And then I also didn't get to see, of course, the final award of the night, presented by Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal for Best Picture, which, of course, went to Anora. This was my revised pick that I made last week after initially picking The Brutalist, thinking that it was going to be a Brutalist year. That just didn't happen. Anora was the winner of the night, and I'm not mad about it. I'm really happy. This is actually the first time I can remember since 2019, the Parasite year, that my personal favorite movie of the year went on to win Best Picture. And it won the Big Five. It won Picture, Screenplay, Editing, Directing, and Best Lead Actress. So pretty historic night for that movie. An independent movie made for like something $9-10 million about a marginalized person and the difficulties that people must face when just trying to simply exist in this country. I was really happy by the results. I was really pissed off at Hulu for not letting me watch it in real time. But all in all, pretty decent awards show. I think it started really strong and then just sort of really fell off as a lot of things started going sour for me personally, and in the telecast itself in the last kind of hour plus. Anyway, those are my reactions. Let me know what you think, what you thought were the biggest surprises and upsets of the night, what you were most happy about. Yeah, that's it. Till next time, happy viewing.